Mark, 'cause I know you're very, very close to former President Trump. When you hear Alex describing the reality as some people see it, but Trump didn't see it at the time, the facts as they stood, that he lost the election, but Trump believed that he won. How does that make you feel? How does that make you feel as a supporter of Trump?
Well, what's really important is for us to truly examine why is it that 50+% of the American Republican Party and the supporters of President Trump still believe also that he too won the election, that he actually won the election. But better than that, we need to be discussing why is it that Joe Biden's DOJ has been used and this latest indictment has been used as a distraction from the Joe Biden bribery scam. That's what's really should be the topic. President Trump isn't guilty of the January 6th that he's been falsely accused of. I was there. I was a speaker. I was there on the ground. He's clearly not guilty. But yet this is the weaponization of the Department of Justice led by Joe Biden and his cronies to attack the leading candidate for the Republican nomination. And according to the latest poll, if the elections were held today, a head-on match between Joe Biden, that President Trump would come out ahead. President Biden is clearly using this as a way to create a banana Republican out of the greatest nation in the world we call the United States.
Pastor Mark, both things are possible. There is possible corruption, obviously, within both sides here. Both sides can be tried. It is Trump that has received the third indictment. And you talked there about the weaponization of the justice system. We were just hearing from Alan Dershowitz that he believes it's been weaponized on both sides. I will come back to you, but I want to cross over to David K. Johnston on this idea then, this weaponization. Do you think that it's pure whataboutism to say that this is a sort of a construct to distract away from Biden issues?
Oh, that's exactly what's going on here. First of all, under the law, you can't turn a deaf ear just as you can't turn a blind eye. And when the Attorney General of the United States, appointed by Donald Trump, when the White House counsel appointed by Donald Trump, and a whole lot of other people appointed by Donald Trump tell him you lost the election, if he wants to engage in a fantasy belief, that's not a defense in a criminal case. The law about that is eminently clear. And all of the testimony that's going to be damaging to Donald Trump is going to come from Republicans who he either appointed or brought in to give him advice. Vice President Mike Pence is going to be the star witness in this case. Mark Meadows, Donald Trump's chief of staff, is going to be a witness in this case. There's not a single person who's a Democrat who's likely to be called as a witness in this case, because the facts were all taking place in front of other Republicans.
Does this, I'll come back to you, Alex, hearing this, it feels like what we're going to be seeing argued about in court is almost the basis of what constitutes reality. And that's going to be very tough because Trump has set up a universe in which he has a reality, his supporters follow that reality, and then there is a reality that others see, and some would argue that it's the liberals that see it or Biden sees it. It's going to be an interesting case to watch as a documentarian, surely.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you know, the idea that we're debating reality is pretty Trumpian in a sense, right? I mean, your guest before, the pastor, just mentioned that he was there on the 6th of January. I mean, to say that he doesn't think the president at the time was responsible. I mean, did he not see what I saw, which is one of Trump's own supporters being crushed to death on the steps of the Capitol? I mean, that's what the rhetoric led to. And then to start talking about Biden and, you know, that's not the point. The point here is that Donald Trump was utterly irresponsible and dangerous. You know, he is a benighted individual. And yes, you know, I mean, just to quote Bill Barr, he said that Trump was detached from reality. And of course, that's not a defense in any court proceedings. You know, he's a mid-70-year-old man that knew exactly what he was doing and yet didn't care. And then obviously all the evidence that came out in the January 6th committee hearings, where he just kept going and was watching the events on January 6th on TV and refusing to intervene until the last minute. And even then, in a half-hearted manner. I mean, he said on the stage, we need to fight like hell. And then, you know, in the preceding months, he was maintaining that position as president.
Let's give Pastor Mark,
Sorry.
a chance to respond to that, because yes, Pastor, you did say that you were there January 6th, and Alex here is talking about dangerous rhetoric and where it leads to in terms of the actual sort of activity, if we could call it that, that we saw on January the 6th. And then what do you make of the rhetoric of likening the current justice system and the federal government to the Nazi Party?
Well, again, as I said earlier, this is the weaponization of the Department of Justice, Joe Biden's weaponization of against the leading candidate for president of the United States of America. What is a fantasy what is not a fantasy is Hunter Biden's laptop. What's not a fantasy is the sitting president of the United States of America took bribes. Right, the evidence is coming out. We're talking about some rhetoric about that could be described by the liberal left as Donald Trump leading a initiative to destroy January 6th. But the reality is, the fact is, Joe Biden is a criminal. And he is the sitting president of the United States of America. And we are talking about Donald Trump being indicted?
Pastor,
come on. I mean,
Pastor,
the fact is, we
innocent
know
until proven guilty, the same
Joe
as
Biden
Trump
is a foreign agent of another government. It's not a conspiracy, it's fact, right? And yet we're still talking about a candidate. The timing of it is ridiculous. The fact that this indictment is coming out as soon as we getting close to the truth about Joe Biden, but yet people are going to sleep on the fact that Joe Biden's DOJ is leading this investigation. Come on now. We've
given you the platform
aren't fooled by this.
To put across that point of view and to get it out there. And those are allegations, and innocent until proven guilty on all sides in this at the moment. I do think the public can see, though, when asked about Trump and people immediately point at Biden, it does look like distraction. Look, David, I want to give you the last word on this and talk about the future for for Trump's presidency, but for the Republican Party, where could you see it going from here?
Well, the Republican Party was warned 50 years ago that it had to get up with the times because the demographics in America were changing, and it hasn't changed. Unfortunately, the Republicans, who used to call themselves the party of law and order, want to defund the FBI. They have come out against all sorts of law enforcement matters. They're supporting Donald Trump, a man who plied 12 and 13-year-old children with liquor, limousines, and hotel rooms because they had money to gamble in his casinos. And I'll bet the pastor doesn't know that in one of his books, Donald spends 6 pages denouncing Christians as fools, idiots, and schmucks, says he has never once asked God
What I do know is that Donald Trump is the greatest president that we've had in our lifetime for Christians. That I do know. I can't talk about what Donald Trump did yesterday. I can tell you what he did today. The Bible says, he the Son set free is free indeed. I can't speak about what he did years ago. I can talk about what he done today. Thank God there's a song called Amazing Grace, how sweet the sound that saved the wretch like me. I once was lost, but now I'm found.
Well, Donald was president. He declared that his life philosophy is revenge. No one who's a Christian can have revenge as a life philosophy. There's videotape of him saying
in our lifetime. The fact that he signed the executive order blocking the Johnson Amendment. The fact that he's going after transgenders in the public school system. That I do know.
I've never cut anyone off on a show before, but I'm close to doing it. And I know you're just you're taking every inch that you can get, but please let David finish his point.
Okay,
Thank you.
While he was president at the last National Prayer Breakfast, Donald Trump once again declared that revenge is his philosophy, which no Christian believes. Donald Trump's conduct here is going to be either proven or not proven in a court of law. If Joe Biden has committed crimes, and so far there's zero evidence of this, exactly zero, just claims, then he should be also pursued, and I'm confident that he will be. But the issue on the floor now is the indictment of Donald Trump for his failed effort to overthrow the government of the United States. And the evidence against him is going to come from his own people. It is going to be his own vice president, among others, who are going to testify to what he did.
Thank you, gentlemen, all of you. It's been fascinating. Alex, just sitting there quietly documenting this. We do appreciate your insight as well, and Pastor as well as David. Thanks so much.